Yeah.
I talked to Linda. She said you have a card. So I was not.
Yeah,
I was asking her if she would pay you in.
I have a credit card, so yeah.
Because
All right, tonight
Okay.
we have Ron here with Sports Photography Talk, which is good because our next competition is sports photography. Debbie wanted me to talk about a thing that's happening at the Abbott Marshland. She sent an email out. Not sure if everybody got that email, but if you didn't, we'll resend it again. Let me find it here real quick.
There are only like 14 slots left.
They're doing textures and colors of autumn on Sunday, the 29th between 10 and noon. It's a photo walk, basically. The walk will be at the Bordentown Bluffs Trail. It's a different part than where we were before, I think. The walk is limited to 15 people and registration is required. So if you didn't get the email and you're interested, let us know and we'll send the email back out. Will do. Will do. So that's the only thing I have. And here's Valerie.
Melinda have anything?
I don't think so.
Melinda, did you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to go over the dates again for PSA. Round one, the deadline. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, round one deadline for the club is November 5th, and you can enter up to 6 images for the monochrome and 6 images for the color. That's it for now.
Okay. Terry, are you on? Do you have anything?
This meeting is being recorded.
Yep.
Supposed to take that off or?
No.
Okay.
Not too, can you hear me?
Yes.
Not too much with NJFCC. I just sent out the email. The nature competition is going and November 4th is
See it on
nature.
my screen.
And I'm sorry, October
I don't see it
29th is
on-
nature and November 4th is pictorial. So it's time to get images in and get going with NJFCC. That's about all.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything?
We have money to pay the judge.
Wait.
The speaker.
We have money to pay the speaker. In fact, I think he's already been paid, so.
I thought that was a bribe. I was expecting 2.
All right, so here we go. Here's Ron's bio. Ron Wyatt's first experience with photography was an unsuccessful photo documentation of his honeymoon. Armed with a borrowed Instamatic camera, he learned that camera shake will not produce great photos. We've all learned that one, right? Yep. Okay. Ron is a self-taught photographer who has covered the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball. He also photographs 2 Summer Olympic Games, and his photos has appeared in various publications such as USA Today, Black Enterprise Magazine, Time Magazine, Newsweek, TV Guide, ESPN, and others. He has covered corporate assignments for Six Flags, Eastman Kodak, Continental Airlines, CVS, PepsiCo, Verizon, MetLife, Capital One, and many others. His photography has allowed him to travel to various parts of the world. He was assigned by Kodak to photograph the 2 Summer Olympic Games in Athens 2004 and Beijing in 2008. His Olympic work was featured in Studio Photography and a 7-page spread in the July 2009 issue of Rangefinder magazine. American Photo called Ron Wyatt a modern master of the Olympics, and his work is also featured in Popular Photography and Digital Photography UK. He's also worked as a video cameraman for MSNBC, Comcast Sports, News 12, and Court TV. Now, from minor league to the Olympic Games, this is what Ron is going to cover tonight. So everybody's laughing, so that means I should stop talking.
All right. Good evening, everybody. This is really, really different from what I'm used to. And as a over 60, it's going to be fun. Okay, what is this now? Host has spotlighted. Oh, it says later, unmute myself. Hit later?
Later. I got much later.
Hit it?
Okay, yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a quick commercial. This is Ron's bucket list, okay? And so hopefully as photographers, we all have, oh, look, a bribery. I'm hoping that you guys have a photo that you're looking to capture someday. And so that's where I came up with the idea to have a bucket list. So on my bucket list is a bear catching salmon, okay? So we're gonna do a trip to Alaska and go for that shot of a bear catching salmon. Also on my bucket list, where's the gentleman that told me he was there and he was supposed to send me information about Venice 2 years ago? But anyway, so this is on my bucket list, Venice. And I just did I'm on the board at the Barron Art Center in Woodbridge, which is a art type of display joint in Woodbridge. And there's a painting display that's up now, and a gentleman has shots of Venice. So I posed the photo by it. I'm gonna start posting different things. I went to WPPI last year and shot at is it the Venetian Hotel? And so you're gonna see some photos. It's gonna look like I've already been to Venice, but this is the goal, okay? So if any of you have those two trips, look me up. But if Tanzania wildlife photography is on your bucket list, here's one of the shots that I captured 2 Septembers ago in Tanzania. And here's a second shot. And hopefully everybody at home can see it also. All right. For this photo, we're riding in the truck and I'm sitting in the back and I see this, whatever this animal is called. He was like walking on the side. So I zoomed into him and just was following him. So I'm following him. Then he starts moving faster and then he runs in front of our truck. And this is the shot that I got to capture. And I was like so happy, I will admit that I went into some Topaz software and sharpened it up a tad bit, but it was one of these panning around, and then all of a sudden, like it wasn't like he said, Ron, I'm gonna go down 10 feet, then I'm gonna make a sharp left, and on 3, you take the photo. So this is one that I'm very proud of the shot, but that's Tanzania. And then this is Cuba, okay? So February next year, we're going to Cuba. So Cuba's on your bucket list of places to go. Now, this photo I will be posting pretty soon because this lady that's happy and smiling and waving, that's Summer. And she went on the trip with me. She lives in Princeton. So when we came back from Cuba, she her husband picked her up from the airport and they're driving back to Princeton. And she just gave him the lowdown on how great the trip was and everything. So while they're driving back from Newark Airport to Princeton, he called me up and said, Summer said she had such a great time. The next time you go, I want you to book us too. I want to go and try it out. So I just thought that was a great testimony. So, you know, I believe a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I'm going to figure out how to write a caption that shows her having a good time and tell that story. And you were with us. If you want to say 1 or 2 words, it was great.
Great, it was way better than I thought it would be. It was beautiful. Ron's a great trip. I can't say nothing good about it.
Very good. Thank you. Let's. And this is the last one of this little advertisement. This is Indochina, Halong Bay. We're doing that next October in another fascinating country. You can go on my website and see all the, well, you can't see Venice, but you can see Indochina, Cuba, Tanzania on my website. And if you're interested, and I hope you are, let us know. Okay, moving on. Moving on. Okay, so we're going to talk sports photography. I added this quick gallery of some recent photos that I've taken. So I'm going to go through these really quick, but I wanted to show you last November, Sony let me use 2 Alpha A1 cameras. And I got the camera like on a Friday morning, and I called one of the Sony artisans, Patrick Murphy Racy. I think I got that right. He's a sports shooter. And I just called him and asked him, can you give me some tips on how to set this thing up? And, you know, so he gave me some pointers. The next day, Saturday, I shot a Temple football game. So I'm going to show you some of the shots, first time using that camera. But, you know, I just added a couple of new things to show, you know, having a good time doing sports photography. This is basically shooting at 2000 ISO and maybe 1000 to 2000 shutter speed to capture this. This was shot with the 100 to 400 Sony. I traded in the 100 to 400, and I now have the 200 to 600. When I went to Tanzania, I had a good time photographing birds and everything. So I kind of figure like I want to become a birder. And so I got the 200 to 600 now. The thing I don't like about the Sony 200 to 600 is it's a 5.6-6.3 lens. And when I was a Canon shooter for 35 years, then I went to Nikon, and I always had 2.8 lenses. And every time I shoot with that 200 to 600, I can't stand it. It's driving me bananas. But then when I get home and look at the images, it kicks out beautiful images. But I'm over 60, and I'm my ways. I'm used to 2.8 lenses. I'm used to the Sony L glass, etc. So it's taken some getting used to. And to try to go buy a 400 2.8 Sony at like 12 grand, it's very, very hard to make that money back today. When I was a Canon shooter and I just started doing NFL, I told my dad, I said, Dad, I need a cosigner because I need to get these 2 lenses. So my father, he worked for New Jersey Transit, but he also worked on cars. And he understood that you have to have the proper tools to do the job with. So he said, no problem, let's go. And he co-signed for a 400 2.8 and a 300 2.8. And I made that money back, no problem. But now there's a company called Getty Images that $29 photos, you know, and it's hard to make the money back. So here's some samples of some of the sports photography that I've been doing in the past. This was actually shot for Six Flags. They had a skateboarding competition. Some soccer. And I just, you know, I'm using continuous focus, back button focus, all right? And I'm just blasting away and just capturing these images. I use the center dot for focusing. Now, it was mentioned in my bio that my first bad experience with photography was camera shake. So I went out and bought my first camera was a Canon AE1, and I would watch television and just practice hitting the shutter without doing all of this. And I just continuously did that. Today, I will do a quarter of a second in a heartbeat, all right? But when I'm doing a quarter of a second, I don't go click, click, click at a quarter of a second. Because every time you push that button, there's a chance you're gonna get camera shake at a quarter of a second. But if you're going, maybe you shot 10 frames on that push. So maybe frame one's got some camera shake in it, frame two has some camera shake, but by the time you get to 3, 4, 5, they're probably good. And now you just pick out of the batch. I had an assignment last night for Princeton, and the person that I was photographing, he didn't want to hear shutters going off. So he asked me, the person that hired me asked that I would have my camera on shutters, silent mode. And he actually put in the instructions, I know you're a Sony shooter, so that shouldn't be any problem. So I thought that was pretty cool. So look for a post in a few days where I'm gonna put down, I'm not gonna put the client's name down. You guys know it's Princeton, okay? But I'm gonna do a post on that because I thought that was pretty cool that he's saying, because the reason why I got into Sony was I did 3 tours with the Moscow Ballet, and people were complaining that my cameras were making too much noise. So I went to Photo Plus, and I went to Lumix, Fuji, all of the companies who said they had silent mode cameras, and I asked if they would sponsor me with equipment so that I could do the tour with the ballet. So Olympus was going to give me 1 body and 1 lens, and Sony offered me the whole kit and caboodle. And when I started shooting with the Sony, it was like, oh, this is great. I mean, silent is silent, does not make any noise at all. And once I came back, I decided to switch over completely, and that's where I'm at now with Sony. Oh, I forgot to mention, if you have a question, please ask me now. Don't wait till the end. I prefer to answer your question now, and hopefully you get what you need to get out of this. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to try to figure out a way how to pick your thing. I haven't figured it out yet. Okay. Okay. Yes. Oh, is my Sony mirrorless? Yes. Okay, so here's some football. I have to admit, I really enjoy shooting football, and if I had to pick my favorite sport to shoot, it's football. So here's some quick football action. What's that? So this is the Eagles. Fan shots. We're going to talk more about what to look for when you're shooting these different sporting events. Now, for the people that's at home, is there a way that they could contact us to get a message, to ask a question?
Yeah. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, and then you guys will. Okay, so for you guys at home, if you have any questions, please let me know. Chat it and. Oh, okay. Well, we can. Yeah, that's fine too. So you can unmute yourself. Yes. Yes.
First, go out. I went to Temple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 2, what got you away from Canada?
Oh my goodness. How much time do we have? No, I'm serious.
library by 10 o'clock.
Okay, good.
9:50, we can just start wrapping up so we can shut down.
All right, good. Okay. Okay. Why did I switch from Canon? Okay. So what happened was for 2004 Summer Olympics, I used the Canon, I think it was Mark II. And this is where I screwed this story up because I forget the models. I'm over and I don't eat my vegetables. So the memory sometimes, forget some things, So anyway, what happened was every Summer Olympic Games, all of the, like Nikon, Canon always comes out with a new camera body that all of us sports photographers, photojournalists have to have. It's got the latest bells and whistles. And so what happened was they came out with the next model that overlapped mine. Now, when I shot the Athens Olympics, I didn't shoot any other sporting events after the Athens Games. So all the rest of my work for 3.5 years was corporate work where I didn't need, fast focusing, quick, all that kind of stuff. So when I got the call from Kodak inviting me to do the Beijing Games, and let me tell a side story of that, because they love my work. They love how I handled their VIPs for 2004 Athens. And I thought, well, okay, so they're going to hire me to do the Winter Games. And they didn't hire me to do the Winter Games because they said I didn't ski, okay? And I'm like, I've shot tons of, so they didn't hire me. So anyway, now it's Beijing time. Yes.
Did you run track? Is that why you did the summer?
I couldn't figure it out. So now I'm wondering if they're going to hire me for Beijing, okay? So one day I'm at dinner at that hibachi joint. I always call it orangutan because, and I'm sitting there waiting to eat and I'm playing with the chopsticks, which I don't know how to use. And then I had an idea. I said, I'm going to contact Kodak and tell them I have my chopsticks ready. All I need is the assignment. Sure enough, about a week, 2 weeks later, I get a call from Kodak saying, so-and-so would like to talk to you. Can you talk to him now? I says, it's James Brown. Of course I could talk to him. And so he invited me to be their photographer. Now, back to answer your question. So now it's time for me to look for the newest camera on the block to photograph the Beijing Olympics. So I went on board the upgraded, I think it was a D, what are the numbers for the top of the line Canon cameras? I think I had a
Mark IV.
So I think I had a Mark II, and then they came out with the Mark III or the D2. No, Nikon is D. Okay, so anyway, I got the latest model, and they were having trouble with focusing and all that kind of stuff with that particular camera. And so all of the pros were all ticked off because the camera wasn't focusing. And then they were also having problems with high ISOs, 3200 and all that stuff. So I tried to wait for them to get the bugs out. Finally, I went and bought the camera, $5,000, okay? And I shot the pin relays and USA gymnastic trials, and 90% plus of my photos were out of focus. Okay, and so now it's almost time to go shoot the Beijing Games. So I'm driving home on the turnpike and I'm thinking, what am I gonna do? And then I'm in my bathroom, what am I gonna do? Now I noticed some other photographers were switching to Nikon, the D3 came out. And they were saying that 3200 ISO was a piece of cake and it was focusing great. And so something said, contact Nikon and see if they will sponsor you with gear, okay? And so I sent an email to Nikon. I kind of figured out who I needed to contact. And about a week later, I get a call and they said, we got your message, we'd like to sponsor you. But it was a week before I'm ready to leave for Beijing. And I said, that's crazy. for me to get a new camera system. Nikon does it this way, Canon does it that way. I think I can't think of a more important assignment than shooting the Olympics. Although when I go to do a day in the life of Jesus Christ, that he may take over that #1 spot. Come on, Jesus, get the head up. Come on, work with me, work with me, work with me, you know? So anyway, the lady had me on the phone for 45 minutes trying to convince me you want to do this. So she asked me what equipment was I bringing. I told her. So this was like a Tuesday or Wednesday. Saturday morning, 1 week before I'm leaving for Beijing, UPS, FedEx, which normally pulls along my curb, this day, FedEx on a Saturday morning, backed the truck in my driveway, and 3 cases, $52,000 worth of camera gear, Nikon sent me. On that day, and I'll show you some photos of one of the first shots. On that day, my son had a baseball game. So I set it up for back button focus. I set it up so it wouldn't fire without a card. And then I was trying to put the monopod into 400-2.8, but the hole for Nikon is one way and the hole for Canon is the other way. And so I didn't know on my monopod, if you try to force it in there, a little thing slips down so it'll fit inside. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, so anyway, I went and shot the game with my son's baseball game. Everything worked out. So I took the $52,000 worth of Nikon gear and I went to Beijing, and we'll get into that more when I get down to the other side. But so when I came back, Nikon said, "How did you like the $52,000 worth of gear I sent you?" I said, "I loved it." "Well, we need you to send it all back." Okay. And so then I tried to figure out a way to buy all of the equipment. I traded in and sold, and I made the switch to Nikon, and I did like 10 years with Nikon. And then the same thing happened with Nikon and Sony because of the noisy cameras that Nikon had. Sony had the quiet cameras. Then I wind up switching to Sony, and I'm with Sony now. Now I try not to look at none of the publications that tell you the latest ingredients, the new cameras and all that, because once it's on the radar, it's on the radar, and it's hard to fight that radar screen because it just talks to you. Now, I bought the new Sony 70-200 because one day I woke up and I picked up my phone. I said, well, let's see what the guy did today. And the first story on Google was, Sony comes out with the new 70-200 2.8, and everybody's loving it. It's getting rave reviews. I said, uh-oh. And so I started reading it, and then I purchased that. And then about a few months later, they came out with the 24-70, and I have that one now too. So, that's like $5,000 worth of lenses. So it's crazy. Okay, so here's football real quick, and then we'll get into the official presentation. There's your temple. This is Rutgers. Now, I'm going to show you this full play in the presentation, but this is just 2 shots that I was happy with. Okay. Now, this temple game was shot with the Sony A1, which some people say is the best camera on the market right now. It's like $7,500 or something to purchase that. And I shot with it, and it did a pretty nice job with the focusing and everything. And this was the action that I captured, after speaking to Patrick and going by his settings. And the next morning I went out with that camera. And I think it's like 30 frames a second or something like that. Does anybody familiar with it? It's about 30 frames a second, which is what I liked about it, because when you're zooming, looking through the photos, it almost looks like video. If you're scrolling through really quick, those images are that quick. And for the ballet, When I shot Nikon for the ballet, I was doing like 2,000 frames. When I shot the A1 for ballet, I was averaging 5,000 frames a show. It took me almost 2 months to edit all those photos. You know, and I looked at every single frame because with the dancer, if she's spinning, like with the Nikon, I would catch it here, I would catch it here, I would catch it here. With the Sony A1, I'm catching it here, 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 here. And you got to look at all of those because the arms got to be and all that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go through this really quick, and then we get into the presentation. But this is one play. I had one play that I shot 69 frames on. And every one of those shots, I could have picked any one of them and it would have looked good if I was like on assignment for a newspaper or something like that. And so that's that, you know, here's the series right here. Okay. Now it starts here. Now that tight, look at that, how sharp that is. It looks sharper on my, okay. But, you know, this is using it one day with the camera, using back button focus. This is one of the shots that I like. Now, with my Nikon, I probably wouldn't have got 2 of these nice shots, all right? I mean, okay, so here, that's a good shot, you know. Number 14 is eyeing a ball to catch it. And now, look, you know, I probably would have missed this frame because of how slow, you know, the Nikon or the Canon. So anyway. And so here's, I think this is the last series, but this is number 81, running a ball. He gets to the goal line, fumbles the ball. And I was just like really, really loving shooting with the thing. Okay, I'm gonna get out of this and we'll start the presentation. Any questions? Okay, let's see now. Did I just, no, I'm still in Zoom. And I'm gonna try to share screen. I mean, I said the right, you are sharing. All right, you don't gotta shout at me. All right, let me just, let's, okay. Yeah, okay. All right, so here we go. We're into the presentation now. So do you want to know how I got into photography?
Sure.
Okay, I'll do this real quick. So I went on my honeymoon and pictures came back out of focus of the beautiful ladies in Bermuda with the golden eyes and the gray eyes and all that kind of stuff, you know? So I was really mad that I didn't have any photos from Bermuda. So I bought my first camera, which was a Canon AE1, and I practiced firing the shutter release while watching television, okay? And I was self-taught. We didn't have Google or Gram Insta, Bookface, or any of that stuff to learn how to do photography, okay? And so every Tuesday and Thursday, all the new magazines would come out at this particular newsstand that I would go to. And every Tuesday and Thursday, I was there just to look at different things. And I would just study the photos. You know, it's just like you get the recipe for veal parmesan, and then you say you're gonna cook it, and then you add your garlic salt or your pepper to make it different. Well, that's what I did with photography. One day, Exxon blew up in Linden. I went down there and took some photos, and it never dawned on me that the Woodbridge News Tribune would send their own photographer to cover an event like that. And so I was so excited. They said, well, let's see what this guy's got. I told them I had pictures of the explosion and everything. So they invited me in. Long story short, they said they had their own guys, but they invited me to become a freelance photographer. How would you like to be a freelancer for us? And I said, I would love to. So I worked at General Motors on the assembly line, 6:30 to 3. And then from 3 in the evening till whatever, and weekends, I would shoot for the News Tribune. One day, the photo editor, I'm at the photo desk, and he's ready to assign a staff photographer a giant football game. And the staff photographer said, I don't want to do it, let Al Press do it. Al Press meaning AP, all right? And I said, I'll shoot it. And he said, okay, Wyatt, here's the credential, go shoot the game. So I had every measured play of that game, the fumble, the interception, I had all of it, beautiful photos. So they were so impressed with how I covered the game, they allowed me to shoot the Jets, Giants, and Philadelphia. So I would put a roll of black and white in and shoot for the paper. Then I would put a roll of Ektachrome, Kodachrome in for me. Black and white, Kodachrome, black and white, Kodachrome. And I started submitting the color shots to different publications like Sporting News. Anybody remember Sporting News? Inside Sport. ABC used to run before every Sunday game, they would run a photo of the quarterback or the linebacker, whoever was, you know, of the game of the week. So I was submitting photos to ABC, CBS, et cetera, et cetera. Eventually, NFL Properties picked me up, and I started shooting for game day. And every Monday, I would pick 3 games for the following Sunday. And if I needed the #1 linebacker and he was playing in Miami, then I'd put that down. And then if I needed a top quarterback and he was playing in Minnesota, no, Minnesota was an indoor joint, so we can't shoot Kodachrome there. And then on Friday night, I would check to see who had the best weather, who had the best Kodachrome weather, and that's where I would go. And back in those days, who remembers People's Express? Okay. Oh God, you miss it now, don't you? But People's Express, you would be, it's like being on the train. You would be paying for your flight while you're actually flying in the air. It was so cool back in those days, you know? So anyway, I'm sorry? Oh, no, and I've never flown them. But anyway, so after 10 years of doing General Motors football, I decided to quit GM, and today I'm hoping to do two more years of photography. And then I just want to do photo tours and stuff like that, you know, and try that out. So I have a dream RV, and my dream is to go live in Dallas for a month and photograph Dallas. And this is before Getty, where you used to be able to sell stock photos. Anybody remember selling stock photos? Anybody selling stock photos now? Yeah. Well, so it's hard to do that now. So anyway, today I'm a corporate and editorial photographer. I have good clients. It's been a little slow. It's starting to pick up now, and I'm looking forward to just some things I want to do. And so I need to become a social media big time and help promote my trips. I want somebody that lives in Switzerland to say, oh, you know what? I'm coming to New York. I would love to hire Ron to take me to photograph covered bridges. And then spend a day, 2 days with him photographing covered bridges, lighthouses, New York, et cetera, et cetera. So here's the equipment for the Beijing Olympics that I took, all right? That's how I roll. Ooh. Now, at that time, Continental, which is now United Airlines, I did work for them. So I called them and asked if they would make arrangements for me to get 3 of my camera bags on the plane. You never, ever, ever, you never want to check photography equipment. Never. All right. I'm sorry? Well, I wouldn't do it with any. So if you travel with me on my photo tours, I usually go to them and say, I got 8 photographers, 10 photographers, and we got about $200,000, $300,000 worth of camera gear. And that we call a special need, and we need to pre-board ahead of time because we don't want to get to our seat and find out that there's no place to put our bags. and now you're telling us we have to check our bags, okay? And you can even do that today, even when I fly by myself. Only twice I got refused. And the last time was I went to Indianapolis, no, with the kids, Indianapolis. And the guy said, no, you have an economy ticket. You'll have to go on when the economy boards. So my grandson, 2 years old, was there. So plan B. All right. And so I'm carrying a seat, something, and he had to let me go. So my point is, you find a way. That's a special need, and most of the time, if you ask, they'll let you pre-board. All right. So sports photography, the best digital camera you can afford, DSLR or mirrorless. What you want when you're shooting sports is you need a camera that will allow you to shoot at high ISOs, not be too noisy, and also be able to shoot fast. Okay. Now, one of my Nikons, I forgot which model. Once I got to 800 ISO, it started getting real noisy. So that was a problem. My D3, I could shoot 2,000, 3,000 ISO and didn't have any trouble. Last night, I shot this event at Princeton at 3,200, not a problem. Hershey hired me to shoot a ride, and they said you can't use flash because if you use flash, it's going to set off the mechanism in this ride. So that's a no-no. But then it was a roller coaster. So I need to stop the action. So I got to be at least 500 or more. And so I shot that at like 4,500 and stuff looked beautiful. So the point is, try to get the camera that can handle the ISOs higher if you want to do sports photography. Because most of the time you want to be at a 2.8, but you want to be at a 500 of a second, 1,000 or higher to stop the action. And then sometimes if you're shooting at night, then you're in low light situations where now you really need to bump up the ISO to be able to capture the images. Now, so once you have that nice body, okay, I use 2.8 lenses for doing my stuff, all right? But if you have a body that will allow you to cleanly shoot at 2,000 ISO or 3,200, you can look at the f4 lenses, all right? And looking at f4 lenses, you're gonna save a couple of $100. Now, when I was with Canon, I bought whatever the first digital camera was, and I also needed a 70-200. And so the guy says to me, well, try out the Sigma. It's a beautiful lens. It's great. You'll love it, and you're going to save a whole bunch of money. So he says, and if you don't like it, you can bring it back. So I went and shot with the Sigma lens. Just beautiful, nothing. The problem with me, though, and I wasn't over 60 then, but I was set in L glass. 2.8 lenses, you got to have that white, and then a little red color on it. And so I went back to him and I said, I'm sorry, but I got to have the Canon. He took it back, and I put another $600 or $700 down, and I walked out with the 70-200 2.8 L glass Canon. Now, when I switched to Nikon, that was a whole nother story. And I'm going to show you some Sigma lenses. Now, I've never played with Tamron, but today, Sigma and Tamron have really good reputations. And if I'm not mistaken, the same company that makes Tamron is making Sony, or vice versa. So, and you're saving some serious dollars by switching to them. Now, okay, I knew there was something going.
Now almost all their lenses are made for Sony cameras.
Right.
And I went to buy one for a Nikon. They only had one lens available.
Yeah, well,
Mirrorless.
yeah, well, I understand they have some couple of really good lenses out now. Like I said, I'm not kidding you. I try not to read anything. I know Canon's got some hot cameras right now, but if you say $100, just even give one initial, like A. I could probably say A something, but I don't want to know nothing. Now, I spoke at a store 2 Saturdays ago, and Pro Photo was there. And so the guy comes up to me and starts talking to me. And then he says, have you seen this? And he got this, it's a 100 or 200 flash. And the fittings snap on they're magnetic. And then the round softbox was like a pancake. It just flattens down. And he showed it to me. And I haven't taken my mind off that thing ever since. It was like $1,200. It's like $1,200, but you know, I got Flashpoint from Autorama. It was like, it's $300. You know, I got 4 of them, you know. So anyway, let me move on. Okay. So my point is, don't be afraid to check out f4 lenses if your body can handle the upgrade into the higher ISOs. And I'm going to show you some Sigma stuff, and just to show you that you can use it. Now, my first mistake in photography was camera shake, so I hardly ever use a monopod. Okay, and I'll hold the 400-2.8 and the 300-2.8, no problem. Now I'm using the 200-600, and I hand hold that. When it comes to like I do television work also. I'm doing a Friday. I'm shooting for Woodbridge a football game. And I'm usually the handheld guy on the field. Now, I like when the quarterback's getting ready to pass, and like NFL, the highlight of the Super Bowl for me is watching NFL films. You know how they produce the season? The camera work is, they are the best cameramen in the industry, NFL films. So this year, when you go look at the Super Bowl, check out the pregame stuff where NFL film shows it, because those guys are great. But I like it when the quarterback's throwing the ball and then you can follow the ball and then coming down and you catch it. You know, I can't do that with a monopod, you know? And I'm going to show you this shot with Kobe was done where I wasn't even looking. I just panned and, you know, so we'll get to that by 10 o'clock, hopefully. Okay, so memory cards. I told you guys before, I'm sure, and I just verified this, okay? I went to, B&H had a big thing in New York a couple of weeks ago, and I went to Lexar and I went to SanDisk, because some sports photographers, they delete photos from their cards right while they're actually shooting, okay? Because they don't want to look at all of it. Like last night, they wanted me in silent mode. I shot 2,000 frames on both cameras last night on a wide 24 to 70, and then the telephoto was 70 to 200. 2,000 frames. I was up till 2:30, 3 o'clock this morning editing that stuff. All right. I don't know why I told you that. Oh, so like Patrick, he doesn't shoot he shoots JPEGs. I shoot RAW and JPEGs, okay? And then he deletes from the card off the camera. I've been told by Lexar and SanDisk that deleting photos from the camera off your card has been known to damage a card. Anybody ever had a card go bad on them? You have. You delete from the camera? Okay. You didn't hear me talk before about that?
But apparently I didn't listen.
Okay. Well, that's being honest. All right. Oh, yeah? Okay. Okay. Which one was? What company? Okay. All right. Well, I've used SanDisk for the majority of them. I've never had it go bad. Okay. And the other thing I just learned the last 2 times I asked, because when I hear sports photographers are deleting from their camera, I want to give you the proper information. But I think what's happening with them is they're working for a newspaper or an organization, and who knows how often they give them new cards to use. It's not like, you know, and cards are cheap now, so it's easy to buy it. It used to not be cheap, you know, they were kind of expensive. The other thing is I shoot with 2 cameras all the time. I shoot with a 24 to 70 and a 70 to 200. If I'm doing sports, then I'll use my 200 to 600 now. And I'll have it hanging on the side with a black rapid strap hanging on the side. Now, what I've been told recently is if you're using two cameras, put the same two, camera one, camera two. Use the same card, take your card and number that camera one card. Take the second one and name it camera two card. Don't ever take camera two card and put it in camera one, because there's some mechanism where they're talking to each other, they're setting the thing up, and that's another thing that makes them go bad. You guys follow me on that one? All right, so I have my cards number one, number two, and they just stay in number one, number two. And so far I haven't had a card go bad on me. All right, so, you know, okay, let's move on. So real quick, now my favorite lens out of all three companies that I've been with is the Nikon 200 to 400 f4 is my favorite lens ever. When I did the Beijing games, I had a 400 2.8, 300 2.8, 200 to 400, 70 to 200, all the way down the whole line. I shot opening ceremony with the 400 2.8 and the 300 2.8. And then after opening ceremony, I put the 400 2.8 and the 300 2.8 in the locker, and I went out and shot with the 200 to 400 the rest of the games, okay? And the stuff was phenomenal. And with the D3, if I wasn't tight enough, I could crop and make it tight enough. Now, the big boys, Getty, Sports Illustrated, you know, if it was soccer, they're down the other field with the 600. And then when the action came closer, they put the 600 down and pick up the 400. And then when it got too close with the 400, then they picked up the 300 or the 20. I was like shooting with the 400, cropping in because D3 could handle it. And then by the time they came down this end and 200, I'm in business still. Whereas they lost a second or two. And now at that time, Canon had a stinky 200 to 400. That lens wasn't great. Now they came out with a new one because everybody started saying, oh, I'm not going to have a 600 or a 400 and 300. I'll just use the 200 to 400. So that's what happened with that. And Nikon had the best one. My second favorite lens is the Sigma 120 to 300 2.8. Sharp as a tack, okay? And here's some images that I shot with the Sigma. I just wanted to give you an example. Shooting NFL with a Sigma lens. Some people may say, oh, really? Because you're used to pros shooting either Nikon, Canon, or Sony, all right? But here's some images shot with the Sigma 120 to 300 2.8 and Sigma lenses. This is indoor. ISO 2500. Okay, so you want to be a sports photographer. This is a little bit of an exhibit of how to start building your portfolio to do. Now, this is a shot of my son. This was a Saturday that I got the Sigma gear. I'm sorry, the Nikon gear. And I figured out how to set it for back button focus. And then I went out, and after shooting this game, I said, you know what? I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to shoot the Beijing Olympics with Nikon. I normally tell the story where you should take your camera manual into the bathroom and learn one new thing about your camera. Okay, so I didn't have too many bathroom opportunities between 1 week and the next week when I'm going to Beijing to shoot. So here's Little League Baseball. You know, if you want to get started, you know, Pop Warner football, make sure you talk to the people who are in charge. Just don't walk out on a baseball field or go out to Pop Warner football and start shooting. People are going to flip out. You know, find out who's in charge and ask for permission to shoot. Maybe offer them some photos so that they could put on Bookface or InLink or Gram Insta. And usually when you tell them about that, they'll usually cut you some slack and let you build your portfolio. And then you go to high school, then you go to college, and before you know it, if you're really good at it, you're shooting. So this is on the left was Little League baseball, and my kid played Little League, so I'd go out there with the camera. The top right one, that was shot. I was a sports photographer for the Star Ledger, and I asked for permission to go out in the middle of in the line of fire for this, and the judge said, "No problem. You know what to do. Get out the way before you get hurt." And I shot this with a 400 2.8. And what I like about it is I'm focused on his face, but the 2.8 throws the background out of focus. Okay. And with sports photography, you usually want to try to have background out of focus if all possible. And then the bottom was at the Penn Relays, and that's shot with a 24-70, and that's just following the action, and you know, and just capturing it. Now, this was one of my friends from church. This is her son. I'm going to say they're probably easy in their 40s, maybe even older, and they had a kid, and they just love this kid unbelievably. All right, and she had the nerve and the audacity to come up to me and say, "Would you take some pictures of my son playing soccer?" And I'm like, I told my kids to put on my tombstone, "You have not because you ask not." Okay. And so, you know, don't be afraid to ask, especially if you're traveling with me and we go to Cuba like you did. Remember, he had those great things to say about the trip to Cuba. Okay. But, you know, sometimes people, they'll look at you and no pictures. But then if you take a photo and you show them how nice they look and you smile, they'll okay, fine, take some more photos. But anyway, what was so cool about this was I said, "Sure, I'll go shoot your son." And it was so much fun photographing this, because look at the kid. He's having fun. He's enjoying the sport. And to be able to capture that was a lot of fun for me. And of course, they loved the photos. And it was just a really great time. Now, there's a new camera store called Cardinal Cameras there in Howe. I'm working with them. Right now, we're trying to put a covered bridge tour in 2 weeks. We're gonna try to photograph 8 covered bridges in Allentown 2 Saturdays from now. The problem is we're a little late on getting the advertisement out for it. But anyway, but I'm also working on doing a baseball workshop. And so if we ever get this off the ground, I got a sample of some photographs. A minor league baseball will let you come in with lenses. They don't really bust your chops, but you're not getting into a major league stadium with the long lens. So here's some sample shots you could get photographing minor league baseball. Most of these were shot with 24-70, 70-200. And this is from the dugout. You know, that's their little snack bar thing where they have all the little things for them. And then here, autographing the baseball. You know, like when any kind of photography, if the game starts at 1 o'clock, I would get to the game at 9 o'clock. And usually, like for NFL or Major League Baseball, they have a meal for you. So I'll have the meal. And then when the teams go out to warm up, I go out to warm up. Okay. I think it takes some time for you to get used to looking through that eye cup and getting used to seeing things. You know, and if you're shooting 4 quarters of a football game and you just pick up your camera in the first quarter once the game starts, your stuff's probably going to look really good by the time you're in the 4th quarter. But I say go out there during pregame warm-ups and shoot warm-ups, and you'll start getting yourself in line with that camera. So again, here's some samples of what you could photograph. That's the third base coach went over to talk to a fan. Now we're into action. This is from the third base side. This is from the first base side. And I'm also wanting to do like Monmouth Racetrack, okay? So here's some samples of photos that hopefully we can pull it off and get permission to do this. Now I went out like 7 o'clock in the morning. I watched them do the pre-run, And then I photographed the whole day. I spent the whole day there to do these shots. So it's not, I'm at the racetrack and all I'm going to do is shoot horses running around the track. And same thing with when it comes to doing photo tours with me. I try to get you so that you're not, you know, you're in New York. You're not walking and then you see the Empire State Building. Oh, Kodak moment. Then you put your camera down. Then you see the Statue of Liberty. Oh, Kodak moment. Then you keep walking. What I try to do is teach that there's more than just the Statue of Liberty, Empire State Building. You know, the Sabrett hot dog umbrella in New York. You've all seen that, right? That's a Kodak moment. Pretzel in New York. That's a Kodak moment. Tells a story about New York. Yellow cab, NYPD car, horse and buggy. All of those different photos tells a story about New York. And you'll be surprised when you're trying to tell a story and you're looking for photos to help tell that story. You'll be surprised how your creative juices are flowing and you'll come out. So here's what I've done with horse racing. It's not just a horse race, but here's some behind the scenes. So if I decided to put a book together or a calendar, you know, it's not going to just see horses running, but this is going to add flavor to that book. Now, at first, this lady said no photos. I showed her a couple of pictures. Now she's posing and everything's cool. This is all behind the scenes in the back stables before the race or after morning runs. So again, now I'm there early, so I got to shoot the stands in different areas. But my point is, I want to tell a story about a day at the racetrack. So these are all behind the scenes photos that you want to look for. Yes.
Did you get permission to get behind the scenes?
Yes. Yes. I told them what I want to do. Now I'm trying to get permission to have photographers come out. One of the problems is somebody got killed and they said it was because a camera shutter went off and spooked the horse. So like they're hesitant, but then some of the parks in Maryland are considering it. So, you know, I'm just trying to pull this off. Now, again, when I do, yes.
What was the question?
Oh, what was the question? Oh, the question was, did I get permission to do the behind the scenes for the horse racing?
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
this particular gentleman, from a distance, I saw him reading the program, and I saw the reflection in his glasses. So I picked up my 70-200 and photographed him. And then I looked at it. Oh, that's like I could see in your glasses the reflection. If I had a camera, I'd fire it off. You know. Anyway, so I went over closer and did this shot with the 24-70. So here, you know how they bring the horses out so you could take a look at them before you want to place your bets and all that kind of stuff. And then I kept seeing it on the right, upper right, he kept looking in their mouth. And I'm like, what is he doing? And then I went over and asked him, he says, oh, that's where they put the numbers. And so, oh, cool. So I probably got about 50 shots of mouth stuff going on, you know, because that's one of the nice things about photography is you learn something new. You know, and then I'm into drum and bugle corps, so I probably did about 50 shots of the bugler there, you know. And that shot with the 70-200, and it throws the background out of focus back there. What time is it? 9:15. Okay, this is one of my favorite shots. Okay, my girlfriend's mom passed away, and they did the obituary. And how many pages was it? And it must have had, I'm going to say 50 photos in it. And that it was like so cool of an obituary. So what people keep saying, why don't you do a book? Why don't you do a book? So my mentor, who is Andrew Darlow, you should have him come speak here. He does printing and all that kind of stuff, but you know, and so he's in charge of doing my obituary. So if you hear I passed away, you may want to come to the wake because there will be copies of my favorite 100 photos that I've taken in my career, all right? So anyway, but this is one of the shots you'll see. I love this photo. Now these horses are could be pretty rough, agree? But look at, these guys are talking to each other, all right? And part of what I like to do when I'm doing sports photography is show emotion. And I just love the way they're communicating with each, and he's got control of the horse, and the horse is comfortable with this particular gentleman, and it's one of my favorite photos. So again, we're still at the racetrack, and now we're starting to get into some of the action. Now, if you get hired by Monmouth Park to photograph a horse race, they're gonna love you if you get their signage in. And if Pepsi hires you to shoot an event or something like that, they're gonna love it if you get a photo of the guy running in a what do you call it, run things? The race marathon. And it's sponsored by Robert Wood Johnson Hospital. I shot something for them 3 weeks ago. If I get a runner coming past their Robert Wood Johnson signage, I'm their hero, okay? So keep that in mind when you're doing. And then you may have an event where you have a major sponsor sign in the background. You may want to pitch that to them and say, hey, I was shooting a car race and this car went right by the Coca-Cola sign. Would you guys be interested in it? And they may just say, yeah, we'd love that. Follow me on that one? Okay, so look into that kind of stuff when you're doing the sports. Okay, know your equipment. Now, I did a trip to China. Yes.
Can we have a quick break? Can we take a quick 5-minute break?
Okay, don't mess up my time now. All right, all right. So we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Any questions? Bucket list. Oh God, that's great.
Dim the lights, game's on.
All right, I'm gonna hurry up because we need to leave by 10.
I need to.
Okay, I'm gonna go through this really quick.
No, thank you. I'm not going down like y'all.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna go really fast. If you'd like to have a PDF of this, just shoot me an email. I'll be happy to send it to you, okay? Because I want to get to show you some sports photos and whatnot. Okay, we're good? All right. So again, okay. With today's technology, these cameras do all kinds of wonderful things. I suggest you take your camera manual into the bathroom, and instead of staring at the ceiling or whatever you do, take your camera manual out and learn one new thing about your camera. So that I told you earlier, we went to China, the guy spent a whole lot of money for this trip and he could barely turn his camera on a photo tour. And, you know, so if you travel with me and say you're going to Cuba, we will, if you sign up today, from today until we go to Cuba, I'm going to make sure you got everything you need, right? So that when we get to Cuba, we're not learning how to turn our camera on or how to do back button focus or any of that kind of stuff. We're working on composition. I may even suggest, because the lighting is so difficult, all right, pull out your cell phones and let's just get an exposure with the cell phone, because the phone will probably get the exposure right for us if it comes to that. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, so that's my setup. Okay, all right. Okay. Everybody got the idea? So I even have XM radio in there. Okay, so that's that. So today, I mean, you like back button focus. You could go home tonight if you're a nighter in the bathroom and Google or YouTube, back button focus, whatever your camera, and you can watch a YouTube that'll tell you how to do all of that stuff. And you'll be, it's just good to know how your camera works so that you can use that modern technology and help you take even easier, great photos. All right, my Sony gear. Corporate sports opportunities. Now, Robert Wood Johnson is one of my clients, and this kid has autism. And he was gonna set the Rutgers rushing world record, okay? And my job was to photograph him breaking this record at a Rutgers football game. So before the game, I mean, he's waiting for this opportunity to come up. So he went over to the cheerleaders. They started playing with him. So he got the pom-poms, and I shot this with a 24-70. Now at this time, I needed 2 new hips. So pre-game, I'm trying to figure out, how am I going to shoot this thing? Am I going to just go in the end zone and use like a long lens and hope to catch him when he gets down? And then something said, no, you better run with him. So I'm running backwards, needing 2 new hips, okay? Now, when you have this type of assignment, you're not thinking about your hips. You're thinking about getting that image. And no matter what it takes to get that image, you're gonna get the image. So there's video of me running backwards. Eventually, I couldn't keep up, they passed me. And then, because I'm running backwards, I'm like, backwards. So then once they passed me, then I could turn around and I caught up. And so here's a series of shots. So, okay, we started like on the 2-yard line or something like that. So you can see he's having a good time. That shot with the 24-70. All right, and I shot a ton of photos. He fell one time and all that stuff, But again, so now I lost them, and then I caught up with them, and they picked them up, and you know how you pick them up and you turn them around, and I just so happened to get there just in time to catch this particular shot, okay? And this will be in my obituary, all right? All right, and it's just to look at him. This is what's great about photography when we get to capture images like this and tell a story. What did I just shoot? Oh, my mentor, Andrew, his mother-in-law had her 80th or 84th birthday or something on Sunday. And so out of all the favors Andrew's done for me, he asked me to shoot this party. And it was such a good time. Because the lady, she wanted photos of all of her friends and everything. Here, take a picture of me in it. But you knew she appreciated it, and you know that those photos are gonna mean something someday. She, next year, she can look at those photos and everybody that was in the photos. So, I mean, every once in a while you get something like that happens and you really feel it, and that's how and this is one of those, seeing this kid do this. And the end of the celebration there. Okay, so here's another story I did for Robert Wood Johnson. This kid almost passed away, and his favorite sport is soccer. So they wanted the story was a remarkable recovery. And so they wanted me to photograph this kid doing his thing. And so we went out and recreated some soccer shots. And see, this isn't NFL or Major League Baseball, but because I have the experience shooting sports, then this is an assignment they're gonna give to me because they're expecting me to come back with images that help tell the story. Okay, this is for a golf tournament. I shot a golf tournament last Thursday. And you pay X amount of dollars. These are the people who paid to be in your golf tournament. And my job is to show them having a good time. The bottom right, this is Central State Hospital in Freehold. And the bottom right picture is the president of the hospital. looking like he's having a good time. And I'm out on the course and I just happened to be there at the right place at the right time and I caught this shot. Okay, I'm gonna go faster. This one was for Central State Hospital. And this guy was sick. He's better now. He's back to doing what he likes to do when it comes to bowling. And so when I get, like, my first job was McDonald's. And they said, when a person orders a Big Mac and a Coke, suggest to sell them a fry, okay? So if you get an assignment and they want a special picture of this particular gentleman and there's an opportunity for a cover, then you want to shoot a cover shot. So this shot on the left is, there's room at the top to put the name of the magazine up, okay? And there's room on the columns to put the storyline in there. You guys seeing that? And so if that opportunity ever comes up, try to go get those shots to help sell, to suggest to sell them a cover shot. Okay, shot list. Okay. This is different shot lists that you can pregame, set yourself up. Assigned person, if you're doing your grandkids' baseball game or your son or daughter's game, then obviously that's the assigned person. Now, safety shots. Say if it's a baseball game, like Friday is gonna be supposed to rain. So I'll get to the game early. If the kids go in the batting cages and warm up, then I'm gonna photograph them in the batting cages warming up, because there's a chance that it may rain and then there's no game. But if you're on assignment for a publication and they're doing a story on Ron Wyatt, then you need to get photos of Ron Wyatt, get him doing pregame. You come back and tell your editor, oh yeah, it was rained out, but I shot him doing pregame. You're their hero now because you have images. Okay, you want to shoot action shots, obviously, but game emotion shots. Say your kid is up the bat, he hits the ball, bang, and it looks like it's a home run. Now, unfortunately, too many of us, once we hear the crack of the bat, we're going to go to the back of our camera and we're going to look to see if we got the ball coming off the bat and everything. Meanwhile, your grandson or your son is running around first base. The first base coach high fives him. And then he realized while he was on his way to second, oh, son of a gun, I just hit a home run. And he jumps up to express that emotion. And now you can catch that shot unless you're looking to see if the ball came off the bat. Then if you're looking to see if the ball came off the bat, you're missing that, et cetera, et cetera. So, shoot the whole play and then look later. All right, I'm going to skip the story there. Okay, so that's game emotion, stadium shots, and fans. All right, here's some emotion shots for sports. And this shot to the left, fencing, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat in that one photo, okay? And, okay, Ron, on 3, I'm gonna react. Now, this is one of my favorite shots when it comes to emotion, because that guy is actually the referee. So, okay, so he goes and she wins. And now she's so excited, she jumps up on this guy. And he's like, okay, it's almost like, all right. And so, this is one of my favorites. And now here she is with her gold medal. I mean, who knows how much of her life she spent trying to get that gold medal. Now she's got it. Okay, here's football. I'm going to go fast because we've seen some of these already. So here's that Rutgers play. Now you see the defensive player, he's got his hand on the ball there, and now he knocks the ball back, and then see the second Rutgers player in the red is going to recover the ball. And look at the bottom. And that was from the end zone with a 70 to 200. Okay. All right. Beijing Summer Olympic Games. Okay, so I'm in Beijing for 30 days. On the next to the last night, you saw how I had those bags with all the gear. I'm rolling out and I'm pushing the cart, and all my stuff's packed. I've had 3 bags stolen in my career as a photographer. So I'm pushing the cart. I'm like, oh my God, that's beautiful, but I'm not gonna stop. And then I just said, oh, I gotta take this shot. And so I pulled out the camera, 24-70, and I shot like quarter of a second, 2.8, and I picked the best one. And you'd be surprised how many doors this particular photo has opened up for me. And I almost didn't take the shot. This is Beijing. Now, when I shot Athens, I came home and said, you know what? If I ever get to shoot another one, I'm going to make a battle plan. I'm going to try to get Beijing 2008 in the shot, or the Olympic rings. I want you to know that this photo was taken at the Beijing Olympic Games. Okay. And so this one, I started on ground level and I didn't like the view, so I kept going up higher. And then you had to wait till the divers were in sync. You know, if one is high, one is low, then that doesn't work. Okay, they need, this is synchronized diving. All right, so they need to be synchronized. So this was the day before opening ceremony, and I thought, you know, they were waiting kind of late. And so I got this guy with the Beijing 2000 ring. This is opening ceremony. I was shooting for Kodak. Kodak was in charge of media at the Olympics. So I got permission to come to the rehearsal of the opening ceremony, but I had to sign all kinds of waivers that I would not publish or photo or let anybody see any photos that I shot. And so I kind of had a battle plan of how I wanted to shoot the opening ceremony. We had to be in our seats at 3 o'clock that afternoon. It started at 8:08. And it's not like going to Yankee Stadium or Shea Stadium where you could get out of your seat and go buy a hot dog or go buy a Coke, because you had to be careful where you're eating. You couldn't drink the water or drink the Coke or any of that stuff. You had to eat. And so it was just really terrible 4 or 5 hours waiting for this thing to start. But what an unbelievable. What was, something went out. Okay, so I'm going to go fast. You can look at these on my website, ronwyattphotos.com, and take your time. I had 400-2.8, 300-2.8, 70-200, 24-7, and whatever that wide is, 612 to 16 or 16 to whatever that Nikon makes from my spot.
Does that mean you had 4 bodies as well, or?
I have 4, yes. 4 bodies. Now, so I only had 1 week to learn the Nikon system before opening ceremony. So I didn't have too many bathroom opportunities. So when I got back to my hotel after opening ceremony, I had to have photos to Kodak by 5 a.m. Okay. And so I'm in my room and I'm looking at this stuff. I'm going, ooh, ooh. We had a glass to my room. The last thing you would have thought I was doing was looking at photos, okay? And it was like I was so nervous because I'm learning a brand new system to shoot the opening Beijing Games and everything. I said my prayers and everything worked out, and the rest is history. So this is opening ceremony. That shot with a 70-200. Now, what I liked about this photo, and I'm using Nikon for the first time, look at the shadow. Normally, I would have cropped out the shadow, but what do you see in the shadow? Do you see the flame in there? Is that cool or what? That was a big reaction when I saw that. I was like, holy smokes, look at that. And the camera was great. 70-200. Lighting the torch. I'm sorry, I'm going fast because we only got like 20 minutes. So rangefinder, originally they were going to do a quick story about shooting the Olympics. And then the lady that interviewed me said, send me like 6 pictures. And I shot 50,000 photos at the games. I had it edited down to 900, and I put them on disc, and I sent them like 3 or 4 CDs or whatever. And I said, be my guest, pick whatever shot you would like. And then she goes, oh, okay. So then she sends it to the editor, and the editor said, okay, we're going to scrap this for this particular issue, and we're going to give you 8 pages. And they gave me 8 pages in the next issue, and they ran all those photos. And my dream was, I never said, oh, I want to shoot the Olympics. I never said, oh, I want to be in Rangefinder magazine. It just, everything just fell into place. I missed this world record. So in TV land, this is called an over-the-shoulder shot. And this particular gentleman is reading the next day newspaper. And so that's my version of having proof that I was there to, and results of the, the world record. Okay, so here's action shots. And now when they're in the water, they don't say, okay, we're gonna jump up here, jump up there. And then for them to be in front of my Beijing 2008, and then I'm using back button focus, I say my prayers before every assignment.
How'd you do the underwater one?
This was shot through a portal. So I think you'll see the portal, but look at the quality though. It looks really good. Now, when I was on my honeymoon in Bermuda, I took up photography, and then I was snorkeling there too. And so I'm a certified scuba diver, even though I haven't been diving in a long time. So here's fencing. This is action fencing, reaction. I think the reaction is the better out of those 3 shots. I shot 1,000 frames. This is the only frame with the arrow release. And this gentleman was from Australia, and he won the gold medal. And it's really funny because you're looking at the photographers, and they don't say, okay, photographers, on 3, I'm gonna let it go. Everybody's sitting there, and then all of a sudden we think he's gonna go, so you start hearing. Because our buffer's filled. Okay, and so I was real happy to get this one frame, 1,000 frames, and this is the one where, and he won the gold medal. This is shot with the 200 to 400. It was a little dark for this, so I had to bump up, fix the exposure on these boxing. It's a dark ring, but that's with the 200 to 400. Beach volleyball. Now that's an emotion shot to me. Like, what happened? Now this is a shot. Getty Images is the official photographers of the Olympics. McDonald's is the official fast food. Visa is the official card. You can't go to Burger King. You can't use American Express, and you can't use Ron Wyatt photos if you're at the Beijing Games. So Kodak wanted this photo to be picture of the day. And Getty said no, okay? But when I did 2004, I had 2 pictures of the day, including opening ceremony for pictures of the day. And it was really funny, but I don't have time to tell the story, so we'll just have to skip it. And again, what are you noticing about these shots? Beijing 2008 is there. Okay, I'm gonna go fast. Look at that. If USA won beach volleyball in the rain, and now they gave away these balls, but they autographed them. Here's the one cycling shot. Okay, but I wasn't feeling this, so I got out of there real quick. It's just, and this is track and field. I said I could shoot track and field here. Let's move on. Now, the reason why you want to use your continuous shutter release is that the frame before her eye was on that rope, okay? So you never want to go click, click, click. Now that we're doing digital, like, if I hear you on the trip and you're only going click, 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 maybe the first 2 days I'm going to say, hey, come on, dude, what are you doing? Fire that baby away, because you don't want to go to Cuba and then you don't have the shot, and then you come home and say, oh, shucks, and I only took 1 frame. No, take advantage of it. Okay, move on, Ron. Okay, all of this is with the 200 to 400. What? I didn't do anything. You're not going to hear the tennis story. Look at this shot. He just hit him in the head, but see the condensation coming off the helmet? And then he's giving him the points. So I shot softball, USA lost gold medal round. Now this is USA versus Brazil for gold medal round volleyball. Soccer, I'm sorry. And they said, Ron's not here. We can't win this yet. So I get there with like 2 minutes left in regulation. And then they said, okay, Ron's here. We can go win this now. And so now for soccer, the action could be anywhere on the field, okay? But this was right in front of me in overtime. And so these are good shots to say you were at the gold medal round. But that's the goalie out. Anyway, I'm skipping another story. So here's this Beijing 2008. I started on the ground, worked my way up till I got to the level. Here's Beijing 2008. This is the only out of 50,000 photos that has the one world, one dream in the background. That's why I didn't crop that. Synchronized diving again. Tighter shot of that. Now here's a photo that I took, and that's how Kodak used him in the hospitality suite. Cheerleaders. Okay. Now you can go on ronwyattphotos.com and see these at a slower pace. And if you need an explanation, email me. This one, China had a bad round, so USA goes up, and then she jumps up on it, and I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? I was a fan instead of a photographer, you know. And she just had a really bad day. But this is one of my favorite shots right here. And I'll tell us. Beijing, and then she's looking back. See the photographers on the other side? They're not seeing her face. Okay, I want to be done.
Assign the photographers a certain area, or do you get to go?
No, I got to pick whatever I wanted to shoot. That's me, Kodak moment. I hate having my photo taken, but this is 2004 shots that Kodak had on a wall, and so and look at the bling on my badge. All right, that was cool. Yes.
I really like that vest instead of a small camera bag, huh?
No, you had to wear that vest because on the back of it is a number. But I normally have a pouch. I carry a pouch too. But there was a number, so if you did anything wrong, they saw your number and you'd be on the next plane out of there. Okay, I want to get to Kobe.
Your vest and then.
No, that's a signed vest. Yeah, and there was a number on the back. Look at this. He stopped the ball from going in the goal with his foot. This was the hardest one to try to get the logos in. And again, you can go on my website and see these guys a little slower. See, there's, you know, I decided to stay in my seat. Yes. Yeah, yeah. There are some places where there's a hole you can stick your lens through. And you know, I had a brand new 300 2.8, and the Devils used to let you sit without the glass. Brand new 300 2.8, and somebody came over and clipped it, my lens hood. And I was ticked. Because I don't know if he was trying to tell me something or what. And I don't really do hockey that much, but I would go up in the upper level and shoot down with a long lens. Okay, all right. Softball. And again, 99% of this was shot with the 200 to 400 f4. I want to get to the Kobe shot. Okay, here's basketball. We're wrapping up. 10 minutes. Don't be tripping. Okay. Now, I just found this recently, and look at this. What's happening there? He's pointing to Beijing 2008. Okay. All right. Okay. So There's Kobe. So now there's a wall just like this. Like here's the wall, and then I'm shooting like this. Okay. So the 200 to 400 is down that end, and then oh, okay, good. Sorry about that. So the 200 to I'm shooting the 200 to 400 to shoot down the other end of the court, and down this end I have a 24 to 70. And so Kobe steals the ball, and he comes back too fast, so I didn't have time to put my 200 to 400 down and switch to the 24 to 70 on this end. So I couldn't turn properly to keep my eye in the viewfinder. And so what I did was I just panned. And before that game, I said my prayers. I pray before everything I shoot. And here's the final shots. Okay, thank you. All right. So Kobe's going to steal the ball. He's running down the other end of the court. Coming down, coming down, coming down. Couldn't hold his saliva, or either that's sweat. He's going up now. So now they're down my end, and I'm like, okay, I don't have time to switch because it's happening so fast. So we're going up. Now I'm not seeing anything. See how I lost the ball? But now watch the net, because I just happened to tilt up without being able to see. Okay, now see I have more net now. So because I'm tilting up, even though I can't see the action. Notice more net. Voila, voila. Thank you very much. So that was shot without being, and this one of my favorite shots. I met the #2 man in the NBA last year on an assignment. I'm going to see him again next week on the job, and he's on the Olympic board for LA. So I sent him a bird's nest photo, and I sent him a Kobe shot, and then I sent another Kobe shot to give to Kobe's wife. So I haven't heard from him, but he loved the photo and everything, and I had always said I was going to send it to Kobe, and I just never got around to it. And then he got killed, and so anyway, that's that. So we're going to raffle that off. If anybody would like to, if you filled out the coupon, unfortunately, you guys who are not here will not be able to participate. Okay, and don't mind this envelope. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry about that, this distraction and stories and everything, but okay, so now whoever's #1 can pick this photo or an hour consultation with me. So since my girlfriend has nothing to do with this camera club, I'm gonna let her pick. Yeah, any questions? What about at home? I sure hope after joking all night.
You don't pull mine.
Okay, Pat Carell or Curzel, that's you, Pat? Okay. You feel, well, that's between you guys, okay? So picture or time on the phone? Okay, and we'll pick one more person for a time on an hour on the phone, or come out and shoot or something. Okay. And this person is Matthew. All right, good. We'll do phone, or if you like, I can send you one of these. I have one more at home. Okay, very good, very good. Okay, everybody. I don't want us to be late getting out of here. Now, you guys sure there's no other questions or anything?
If anybody has any questions on the line, you can unmute yourself.
I'm sorry?
Thank you, Reggie, because here you are with all your lovely Sony equipment, and guess what I shoot you?
Thank you.
It looks like there's no questions, so
Oh,
we're
no
gonna wrap it
kidding.
up here so we can pack up. I thank Ron for coming. It was a great presentation.
No?
They can stay. And
Oh,
we'll see you guys in 2 weeks for the sports competition. Take care.